a local man has been convicted of treason, which is not something that happens every day
No.
in this United Kingdom.
You know what else should get the death penalty, Callum?
Treason.
That's right.
On the books, it should. I think legally it technically does. It's just been superseded by other liberal nonsense. So,
Yeah, thanks, socialists.
so we'll go through the story. We'll start off just by mentioning the politics of the Crown on Lotus, which you can go and check out. Just going through the actual role the Crown has in politics.
Yeah, this was really good because I didn't know this before you did this video.
People just ignore that. They just think, oh yeah, it's just ceremonial. It's like, yeah, not really. Come on. Like, the ceremonies are not meaningless, and everyone knows it. Especially the Prime Minister has to meet with them every week. That's normal. Not once a year as, like, a ceremony. No, once a week, in which the monarch sits down and goes, so what are you up to? And just grills them for an hour.
Well, the monarch is the head of state, so you would think they'd have some input.
Moving to the next story here, because this is the story itself. Man admits treason charge over Queen crossbow threat.
Average Englishman, I assume his name's John Smith.
Yeah, but John Smith over here went to Windsor Castle armed with a crossbow and told protection officers, I'm here to kill the Queen.
And they were like, right, she's in room 17. I mean...
He has pleaded guilty under the charge of treason.
Jaswant Singh Chile.
Yeah, Mr. Jaswant Singh Chile from Hampshire.
Yeah, obviously from Hampshire. Where else would he be
Of the
from?
BBC task, was arrested on Christmas Day 2021 when the late monarch was living at Windsor due to the COVID pandemic. At the Old Bailey earlier, Chile, 21, pleaded guilty to 3 charges. He was the first person in the UK to be convicted of treason since 1981.
He should be hanged.
Well, I think there's instructions left in the Treason Act of 1351. We'll get to it in a minute.
Oh, great.
Bit more extreme than hanging back then. Charles from North Baddesley, near Southampton, also admitted making threats to kill and in the possession of loaded weapons in the castle. He is due to be sentenced the same court, March 31st. He was spotted by a royal protection officer in the private section of the castle grounds just after 8:10 in the morning on the 25th December 2021. Isn't that Christmas? That was his Christmas morning. So this was the Queen's Christmas morning as well.
Merry Christmas, Your Majesty.
We found some lunatic try to kill you outside.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing this guy doesn't celebrate Christmas.
Probably not.
So to him, it's just another day.
No, his reasoning reveals that as well. The officer at the gate leading to the... there was an officer at the gate leading to the monarch's private apartments. Child, who was unemployed at the time, but had worked for the Co-op supermarket. Don't really know why they had that. It's just a
Co-op are just like, what are we going to do with this?
He once worked at the Co-op, that bastard.
Yeah, it wasn't on his CV.
The Co-op probably trained him to do it as well. I worked at the Co-op. I don't want them thrown into it when I try it. Hang on, no.
Why do you want to work here? I need money for the bus fare so I can go kill the Queen.
You're high. I mean, I know the Co-op are communists, so I mean, fair enough. But at the same time, I don't feel like they should get a mention.
I don't feel so bad about it.
Maybe they're being like, well, he wasn't a completely useless individual. He did work at the Co-op once. So...
He's generally unemployed otherwise, yeah.
Had climbed into the grounds using a nylon rope ladder and had already been there for about 2 hours. That seems like an awful lot of time. I mean, you can see the castle there. I mean, does it take 2 hours to find the private quarters section?
To be fair, it probably does take 2 hours to find.
Was he crawling?
Was he aware of where he was supposed to be going? He's just wandering around with a crossbow. It's like, excuse me, do you know where the Queen's thing is? Oh, yeah, it's on the 7th floor. Oh, bloody hell.
You'll see how he was dressed in a minute, so I don't know how that conversation went down. He was in a hood and mask and was described as, quote, like something out of a vigilante movie. The officer took out his taser and asked him, "Morning, can I help, mate?" To which Chai responded, "I'm here to kill the Queen."
Such a British event.
Oh, cool blimey, my friend. She's right down the hall. If we go to the next link, because we can see how he looked at the time, on the left there.
Right, okay.
That's his uniform for killing the Queen.
Demented, yeah.
With his mask.
Homemade slasher mask.
With a big old hood and hoodie, and then his crossbow in hand. I can't imagine the imagery of the protection officer stood there with his taser. You're right, mate.
But just, like... This guy must have looked at himself in the mirror just before he left. He's like, is this actually a good idea? I mean, it sounded like a good idea, when I was high or whatever. But does this sound like a good idea now? Now that I've gone through all the effort to get this crossbow, to make this mask.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I... Just... We'll see his reasoning in a minute, and I just think to myself, why not just move to India?
Right, okay, yeah.
But-
Great question.
We'll go back to the article. The protection officer immediately told Charles to drop his crossbow, get on his knees, and put his hands on his head. Charles complied with the instructions.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking.
I'm here to kill the queen, mate. Get on the ground. Yeah, fair enough. You don't shoot the protection officer and
Yeah,
carry out
exactly.
your plan.
Yeah.
You just go,
Not that
"Oh,
we think you should, obviously. It's just
I've been rumbled." I think that's the weirdness of the anything royal, which
Yeah.
is... I'm sure you've had this whenever you're visiting like the Tower of London or something. You
Oh
do,
yeah, I've constantly been in the No, I haven't.
but you feel like compelled to just do as the proper thing is to do in whatever situation it is. I mean,
That's the
I've heard,
magic of it.
I've heard countless stories of people who visit the Queen for various reasons, and they always feel kind of dumb, and they just do what everyone else is doing because you don't know
Yeah.
precisely what to do.
Oh, yeah.
The funniest one is that there was Andy McNabb and his boys after Bravo 20. They got sent to be given a medal in secret.
They got sent.
Well, they had
They were
choice.
invited to receive.
Did it get?
fair enough,
Don't think it went like that. Anyway, they turned up and the Queen's doing some dinner with who cares outside, and then she has to be like, "Oh, sorry, I have an appointment," and goes off. And in secret, they go there. She walks into the room, and apparently one guy, the leader, walked forward, clipped his heels like a member of the SS.
That's not a member of the SS. That's
No,
what
no.
they do in the military.
Andy McNabb describes this as like it was very SS like, and everyone was a bit weirded out by it. Gave a bow, moved to the side, and then every other boy did exactly the same thing, just because they didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
Follow the man's instructions, and even she was like, "This is weird. This takes me back." Anyway, so after they told him to get his hands on the ground and cuff him, Charles, whilst on the ground with his hands on his head, said, "I'm here to kill the Queen." Which, I mean, you've sort of...
Yeah.
I don't know if this is death by cop. The crossbow was found to have been loaded with a bolt, and the safety catch was off, so he was trying badly. Charles was also carrying a handwritten note which read, "Please don't remove my clothes, shoes and gloves, mask, etc. Don't want post-mortem. Don't want embalming. Thank you, and I'm sorry."
Sorry. Read that again.
So his note was, "Please don't remove my clothes, shoes and gloves, masks, etc. Don't want post-mortem. Don't want embalming. Thank you and sorry."
Thank you. Right. So did he think like, oh, well, we've just got this corpse?
Well, I mean, I think the plan was to go and kill the Queen, get shot.
Yeah.
But I also love how British he is. The description was just like, "I'm terribly sorry."
But just why would he think that they're not going to remove the mask?
Nobody cared who I was. Till I put on the mask.
But
said
like,
shot.
no, okay, yeah, fine. Let's say you go in, you kill the Queen, you get shot, and they're like, yeah, well, we don't need to know who that was. Like,
Not important.
obviously they're going to remove the mask, you moron.
In a video posted on Snapchat minutes before he entered the castle, so he's TikToking just before he goes to kill the Queen over here, Charles said, I'm sorry for what I've done and what I will do. I will attempt to assassinate Elizabeth, Queen of the royal family.
Why though?
This is revenge for those who have died in the 1919 Jallianwala Bagh massacre."
Right. I don't even know about that.
I'm surprised you don't. If you ever listen to 10 Evil Things the British Empire did, it's always number one because it's the only one.
Oh, really? What happened?
So we'll get into it in a minute.
Okay.
So I won't spoil it yet. It is also revenge for all those who have been killed, humiliated, and discriminated on because of their race. So,
Right.
Meghan fan.
So revenge for racism.
Revenge for racism and the Jallianwala Bagh massacre.
I must kill the Queen to avenge racism.
Yeah.
Think you're mental, mate.
The BBC write, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place when British troops opened fire on thousands of people who had gathered in the city of Amritsar in India. The death toll is disputed, but between hundreds and the Indians say it's near thousands. Thing is, the whole incident is a joke for people who don't know about it, as in, like, it's a meme at this point. Because of the aforementioned 10 evil things the British Empire did. Number 10, took my sandwich. Number 9, were a bit rude. Number 8, did colonization or something. And then eventually it'll get to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Oh yeah, see, we got them now, boys. What did they do? They shot some people who were innocent. They did. Yeah.
Okay.
Got us banged to rights, Malado. Because if you go to the Wikipedia list, the deets are that what happened is that the place was put under curfew and martial law. Stay in your homes or we'll come out and shoot you, said the British administration. And then a load of locals went, yes, but it is this weird holiday no one's ever heard of in Hinduism. Time to go outside. So they did, which, understandable, have a nice day. But the British were like, no. I gave orders. I wasn't joking, and shot a bunch of civilians.
I can't help but notice it says the protesters were surrounded by Gurkha, Balok, Rajput, and Sikh troops.
Yeah, it wasn't white men doing the shooting, but it was, Empire times. The thing is that it is bad, and, well, there's two notes on that. At the time, even the British Parliament, like Churchill himself, was in Parliament denouncing this.
Right.
The commander who did this was removed, denounced by the Imperial Parliament, if you want, all the way in London.
Yep.
And everyone was very deeply embarrassed by all of this, which is not usually what the Soviets would do.
No, I mean, it's
When a whole 100 people get killed.
well, it's one of those crimes that you could only really level against the British, because everyone else was like, yeah, we did.
Yeah, you were pretty upset and apologetic about the killing of a few hundred people once. Yeah, you got us.
Yep.
Whereas the Japanese in China were like, another 100,000 boys.
Yeah.
There's bayonets and more babies. And the thing is also, if you type in the Armistar Massacre, I didn't know this until now when I was doing the research, because I was typing it in, and you get, because I heard about this before, you get multiple dates.
Oh.
Only one of them is in 1919 under the British.
Right.
Get the next one here. We got 1947, not British.
Oh, yeah.
In which 3,000 dead Muslims. So that's way more than the one the British did. A lot more.
Who did that during the partition of India?
You know what's funny is whenever you ask about all the deaths in the partition of India, they're like, yeah, the British did this. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's insufferable,
I
isn't it?
hate it. It's just like, we all left, you started killing each other, British did this.
Well, I mean, in a way, for capitulating to the demands for decolonization of India, you could say, in a roundabout way.
The argument there being that the British are the only ones who can be trusted to run this place.
Yes.
Which is a really
That's
funny
exactly
thing for an Indian nationalist to make. I've heard it many times from Indian nationalists. I just think, bro, I mean, cool, but whatever. Anyway, there's also in 1984, when they decided to massacre 3,000 to 17,000 Sikhs.
Jesus Christ.
This one's a bit more extreme. So a Sikh bodyguard executed the Prime Minister.
Because, right, it was an assassination.
Yeah, and then in response, the local population were like, well, time to kill all the Sikhs. And then they tried. So there's that. Which is just even more like hilarious, where it's like the number one list of top 10 evil things the British Empire did. Twice in the same place. There's even worse massacres.
Estimated number of deaths about 8,000, 17,000, but at least they weren't caused by British-commanded Sikh troops.
No, it's vigilante killings because local man kills Sikh, therefore kill all the Sikhs. Anyway, back to the article, because local man committed of treason over here.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing any of those things, not for justice
He
for those. No.
didn't need revenge on that. Yeah.
No. It's for this thing he's never heard of, really. Also in the video, and appearingly referencing the Star Wars film, Chal also boasted, I am an Indian Sikh, a Sith. My name was Jawad Singh Chal. My name is Darth Jones. I think he's also retarded.
Get off the internet, you fucking idiot.
Darth Jones is here to take revenge for the 1919 massacre by the British,
God.
which Queen Elizabeth did. Yeah, okay, bro. It was also alleged that Charles had previously tried to get close to the royals by applying to join the Ministry of Defence Police and Grenadier Guards. He actually signed up. He was like, please give job. Totally won't kill Queen. Trust me, bro. Won't happen. Police said Charles' actions were not treated as terrorism offences, but the counter-terrorism division was deemed the appropriate team.
We're not going to treat this as terrorism because the man is clearly autistic and incompetent.
But they did decide that the counter-terrorism division were the ones to deal with it, but it's not terrorism.
Sure. But, I mean, it is kind of embarrassing to call this terrorism.
Yeah, it's like, we're going to have the counter-terrorism unit do it, but you're the worst one this week.
Yeah, you are actually terrible, and it's right that you apologise, because this is a sorry state of affairs.
Under the 1842 Terrorism Act, it is an offence to assault the Queen, or at a firearm, or offensive weapon even within her presence, with intent to injure or alarm her, or to cause breach of the peace, which I really find funny. I love that running about in the Victorian era.
Yeah.
If you alarm the Queen, death. The last person to be convicted under a separate and more serious 1351 Treason Act was William Joyce, also known as Lord Hugh. Sorry. And we'll get to the punishment for treason, because a whole bunch of articles have been written in response to this news breaking that this guy has been tried, which is just like, what is the appropriate punishment? The entire British press is just having umming and erring sessions about what should we do, Because, of course, everyone in the press is apparently some kind of Lib Dem socialist.
Of course they are.
Where they're like, I don't believe in the death penalty.
Of course they are.
But all of us do have an ingrained feeling of anyone who harms a monarch must die. And, well, the Evening Standard over here started doing some reading. Those found guilty would be hanged, drawn, and quartered. First, the traitor would be tied up and drawn across a rough ground by a horse. That's the drawn part.
Yep.
He would then be hanged within an inch of his life, so he wouldn't quite die.
Yep.
And finally, whilst stunned, he would be emasculated,
Yep.
disemboweled. Some say this is where the word drawn comes in, as your organs were drawn from your body. And your organs would be burned in front of you one by one while still alive. The unfortunate soul would then be beheaded, and the head would be cut into 4 sections. These sections would be preserved in brine and spices. Don't want smelling bad. The head part.
We don't decomposing.
Why the spices? The brine's for the decomposition. It's just like, well, I love the scent of the head. And then the king would decide where to display them.
Yeah.
If the traitor was a woman, however, she would be burned at the stake instead, and being hanged and drawn and quartered was considered too indecent for women. True.
I suppose it is, yeah.
The public would watch the spectacle sometimes and throw rotten food at the suspect. I love the idea of applying like scientific modern policing language
Yeah,
to the circumstance. The suspect was then ripped apart. The heads would often be displayed in prominent places, such as the spike at the Tower of London, for example, as a warning to everyone who committed high treason. And then the Evening Standard sort of write with a slum, but the Treason Act is still in force, but has been superseded by the Crime and Disorder Act of 1998.
Oh, yeah. What's Tony Blair's Crime and Disorder Act have to say?
The penalty is now life imprisonment.
I mean, it doesn't have to be 14th century justice. You know.
Ah, it does.
It could be lethal injection. That's fine.
I would agree.
I'm happy to concede that maybe chopping him up and spreading his remains around the country is a bit too much for modern sensitivities. I'm happy to concede that.
It's not too much for justice. It's not too much for what a treason
Fair.
enjoyer deserves.
Fair, I agree.
But moving to the sense of justice, there have been many a debate about justice. I thought I'd just employ this debate about justice from Somalia,
Right, okay.
which is pretty based. We'll click on the left one here. We'll have a debate, shall we? Which form of justice would you rather live under, Somalian justice or American justice? Well, news from Somalia. 2 men who killed a 12-year-old girl in Somalia are publicly executed by firing squad, chosen by the girl's father, who inspected the bodies to make sure they were dead.
Based.
So, 2 men, rape child. We grab the man of the murdered child and say, hang about, would you like to watch the shooting? And then you can inspect the bodies just to make sure. And also you get to pick the...
Well, in the American ones,
pick the shooters.
The families of the victim are often there to watch the
Do
execution.
you get to pick the shooter?
They don't get to pick the shooter because they don't use firing squads, because the Americans are cucks.
Backwards nation.
Yeah.
Whereas Somalia, literally Wakanda. And then we move to the United States, where their justice is being taken place.
Oh, yeah.
Mohammed Bakri Shea, 20, of Rochester, was convicted of raping 2 girls aged approximately 4 and 8 years old when the abuses began. Charges say these sexual assaults occurred multiple times, and he's been sentenced to 180 days in a local jail.
180 days.
I'm just saying, Somalia is not as bad as people think it is. They seem to have a few things more right than others.
It's not even half a year.
I'm sure Mr. Shea over here, Mohammed Bakri Shea, is as American as they come. Anyway, that's that. Which is just a lovely story about a man who's been convicted of treason, will be serving the rest of his life behind bars. But it is a shame, and every British subject is sighing when they learn, what do you mean it doesn't carry the death penalty anymore? If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Contemplation series we do, this one on Celtic mythology and their gods. If you'd like to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.